And somewhere in this time, Reverend Chown got his doctorate. They don't say when, they just said he became Reverend Doctor. And he was a hard worker, and he was dedicated to lead to the union of the United Church of Canada. Now, where do you read that he was, nowhere do you read that he was actually chair of the committee, but seriously, he probably was. Reverend Chown's crowning contribution came at the time of union, so just at our inaugural service. Before all the ballots were taken for the first moderator, it was understood by the whole union committee that the first moderator would be Reverend Dr. Chown. He addressed the first General Council asking for a unanimous election of George C. Pidgeon, a distinguished Presbyterian leader, as a sign of unity of spirit, and this was carried out unanimously. Reverend Dr. Chown, in his last 8 years, wrote a book called The Story of Church Union in Canada, where you will find many events leading to the union of the United Church, including his dedicated initiative to work on the basis of union. He started that. In 1975, there was an 8-cent stamp. Can you believe we had an 8-cent stamp in 75? I think now it's $8. But anyway, in 1975, there was an 8-cent stamp, and Reverend Dr. S.D. Chown was on that for his important role in the founding of the United Church of Canada. And he's from Spencerville. Yay, Spencerville!
So I'm here to speak to you about something that took place at the Wakefield United Church a number of years ago. Many of you will remember the Beads of Hope campaign that took place a couple of decades ago. During that time, the minister in our church was Giselle Gilfillan, who a number of you will remember and will know. Giselle actually decided that she wanted to bring a psychiatric nurse from Montreal who was working with a number of grandparents in South Africa who were looking after their orphaned children, their orphaned grandchildren. And so Nurse Mindy came, did a wonderful meal with us, gave us a great opportunity to get to know the work that she was doing. And she said, you know, I'd really like to bring Rose Letabwa from South Africa, who's been working with the Go-Go's, the grannies in South Africa, to come and join in a conversation with our church as part of the Beads of Hope campaign. And so Rose came in from South Africa and spoke at an event where there must have been at least 40 or 50 people in the church one evening. And one of the people who was in attendance was somebody who is a bit of a rock star in Wakefield, who's the child of one of the first doctors in Wakefield, Norma Geggie. And Norma Geggie, who is 99 years old today, and who is still active in various ways in the community as best as she can, decided to have a conversation with Rose in the parking lot after that event. And in that conversation, they talked about how it would be great if there were grandmothers in Wakefield who could be in connection with the grandmothers in South Africa. And the idea of the Wakefield Grannies was born. And this was the first time a grandmother-to-grandmother group took place. The idea snowballed, became a national and international movement, and was one of the real highlights of those years in the Wakefield United Church. And so the grandmother to grandmother movement began in one of our United Churches in this regional council. So wanted to share that particular anecdote with us. And I invite...
It's Bronwyn. Isn't it Bronwyn next?
no, Kimberly, I think. Is Kimberly ready? Yep, come on up. Yes, I know.
Oh, she's in the UK right now. Come and speak.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Heath, minister at Wall Street United Church, and I first want to say it's so delightful to see everybody. I just love mingling around and bumping into all of these familiar faces, but also, I enjoy getting to know the ones I don't know. At Wall Street United Church in Brockville, we have a very active Indigenous subcommittee of our Outreach and Social Action Committee. And they've done all sorts of things over the years, but what they and we are most proud of was some of their efforts to support the call to action number 62 from the Truth and Reconciliation Report. Call to action 62.1 urged the federal, provincial, and territorial governments in consultation and collaboration with survivors, Indigenous peoples, and educators to make age-appropriate curriculum on residential schools, treaties, and Indigenous peoples' historical and contemporary contributions to Canada as a mandatory education requirement for kindergarten to grade 12 students. When the Honorable Murray Sinclair was asked where he would start on the 94 calls to action, his response was that he would start with call to action number 62. He said it was education that got us into this mess, and it is education that will get us out of it. Kairos, that ecumenical movement, began to work on a petition to go to provincial and territorial legislatures to work on this particular call to action. And our Indigenous subcommittee connected in with Kairos. Kairos offered a webinar on how to approach your local MPPs, and Donna Greenhorn, who heads up our committee, attended this webinar. They then presented a petition to our congregation, which was very well received, and they made a call to our local MPP, the Conservative Member of Parliament, Steve Clark, and asked for a meeting. Now, Kairos warned that this would likely take a couple of months, but it's a small community. And it turned out his administrative assistant was a former student of Donna Greenhorn, and they had a meeting within a week. It was such a quick turnaround that Kairos scrambled because they hadn't actually finished preparing the document that they were going to hand out to people to present. But they did. They scrambled, they put it together. And we had a group of about, 7-ish people who went and met with Steve Clark about this petition. Following the presentation, MPP Clark announced that he not only wanted to support the petition, he wanted to champion it in the Ontario legislature. And on May 17th, 2016, MPP Steve Clark rose in the Ontario legislature to table the petition created by Kairos in support of Call to Action 61.1. The Hansard record quotes MPP Clark as starting by saying, "I want to thank the Outreach and Social Action Committee of Wall Street United Church in Brockville for this petition." According to Kairos, this was not only the first person in Ontario to table this petition, it was the first in the entire country to bring this forward. So it was a united church that helped to get the ball rolling on Call to Action 62.